Welcome back to 5 Minute Deck Breakdown, where I'm going to break down yet another Landmark deck. If you can tell, I'm a huge fan of this archetype. So this one's a bit wonky. It's a Ziggs and Renekton deck. So we're sticking in Shrima and Bandle City. And the concept of this deck really is just aggression through and through, but I really wanted to try to make a deck using the Ruinous Acolyte. And the best way I found so is actually in a weird deck like this one. So the Ruinous Acolyte requires you to blow up your own landmarks in order to gain power, but also have the fearsome keyword, which is really solid like it does naturally. And when you're doing that, you can get to a point where you're building up a pretty solid board and you're blowing up particular landmarks, especially things like the Ruinous, like the Endless Devout's landmark to give you another 5/3 fearsome, or your own landmine from Inventive Chemist, or Hexplosive Minefield in order to get a good stun, or the Obelisk of Power in order to give you even more power. So all of our landmarks are really functioning to give us a lot of juice and bump up our units very well. Renekton now only requires 10. It's a bit of an old buff now at this point, a few months back, but he only requires 10 damage done to level, and we can easily do that. Him challenging one thing by applying Vulnerable with the Rock Hopper or Unraveled Earths. Him challenging one unit gets him up to 6, and just using one Unleashed Energy for a +4/+2 buff for that turn puts him up to 10 attack. Easily can level up Renekton very quickly. And ideally, if you can do Unleashed Energy and hit it on the Hexplosive Minefield, and whatever you challenged with Renekton now can move to the bench via its stunning from Hexplosive Minefield. Renekton can just blast through, do 10 damage to the Nexus since he has Overwhelm, and just push so much damage so quickly. This deck, if you're familiar with Landmark archetype in general, you might be used to kind of seeing a thicker mid-range push with Talia or with the Desert Naturalist and some Rock Bears and things. This one's even quicker than that. We're just go, go, go. That's why we're running things like the Treasure Seeker. For the additional 5/2 unit that we can get for 2 spell mana, we're running Obelisk of Power naturally. We're trying to push damage through. That's even why at the end of the game we're running 1 Safety Inspector so we can hit damage that way, or the Arsenal so we can just end the game that way. So like I said, the win condition here is pretty straightforward. Destroy the Nexus pretty early, push through a ton of aggro damage, and we really don't want to be super into combat trading a whole lot. We want to just try to be pushing damage through to the side. So you want to use things like Unleashed Energy and your Ruinous Acolytes with Fearsome to just be able to just get damage through the side, right? Let them not have blockers, remove certain blockers with your Vulnerable that you're applying, and just push through a ton of damage on the side. Of course, in any Ruinous Acolyte deck, we'd have to run Construct of Desolation so we can get even more Ruinous Acolytes, and that leads to huge units. Normally, we can get at least 2 or 3 of these on board, so they're pretty beefy, all with Fearsome, which is super solid. Strengths of this deck is definitely a surprisingly strong early push. We can push a lot of damage. Between 4 and 6, we can shove so much damage through. It will shock you. Renekton alone can do a ton. Ziggs can push through a solid amount if you get him leveled. And our fearsome units here with the Acolytes, and obviously I'm saying we only have 3 in the deck, but we're really running 6, along with the Endless Devout summon of the 5/3, can really push through a whole lot of damage in a very surprising way. That's really the strengths. We're going to just kind of go toe-to-toe with most aggro decks, but against control, if they can't handle this wide of a push, then we're in a very good position, and we can push them down very easily. The flex spots for this deck are a bit wonky. I think actually the Safety Inspector and the Arsenal both are flex spots. You could really just move them to the Altar, the 6-drop landmark that you can blow up to get a 7/6 that has like Overwhelm and Spell Shield. You can get that card in here in place of those pretty fine if you really want to just go even quicker, if you want to drop those. Hidden Pathways has helped a good bit in this deck in order to just kind of replenish our hand if we have gassed out. But it is now 6 mana or 4 mana when we create 2 landmarks. At that point, it might not be worth it anymore. I still think it most likely is. I think those are your flex spots that you can look at. And you can shift to either get a little bit more consistency early by putting in some other, maybe another 2-drop or another 3-drop, or even the Desert Naturalist. Or if you want in the reverse, is really just switch out your top-end package for a different top-end package. I think those are the 2 main different flexibility paths that this deck offers. And either one is very sustainable, and I've played both a bit, but this is where I've ultimately ended up with the deck. So hopefully this will serve as a quick little guide to get you started playing a few different games with this deck. If you've enjoyed this content, make sure to leave a like to the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, we'll see you next time.